So I think without further ado, I am going to introduce our presenter for today. We have Lovely Morel from the Pueblo City and County Library District. And Lovely, I'm going to go ahead and pull up your slides and let you take it away.
Great. Hey, can everybody hear me all right? I'm assuming that you can. If you can't, wave at me. Okay, so welcome to Let's Get Digital, how to successfully bring your programs online. Now, as Christina said, I've been with PCCLD for roughly about 7 years. I started off as a material handler, and currently I am a customer service representative. I also host a digital book club on my Facebook page, Lovely from the Library, and a podcast of the same name. You can access those if you're interested in the resource file that Christina's posted somewhere. I know she's posted it. I don't know how to say it properly, but it's there. Okay? Okay. So, pardon me. So more info about me. So these are 4 pictures of me. The one at the bottom right is me. I think I am in the stacks at our main branch. I'm reading, looks like Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So I'm an avid reader. I read all kind of genres. I do tend to skew towards sci-fi, fiction, fantasy, and whatnot. The second picture on the bottom left is my feet, and that's after my family and I had been hiking hiking the San Carlos Trail in the San Isabel Mountains. That's the one that has those black pine trees and black squirrels. Never saw a black squirrel till I moved here. The third picture in the top right-hand corner is me. I am doing an update for my book club. And so that's me indulging in one of my favorite pastime, which is social media. And the last picture in the very top right-hand corner is a picture of me in my front yard. And if you have a keen eye, yes, that is corn I am in front of because I grow groceries on my front lawn. I'm sure that you can hear it. I have a Southern accent because I am most recently for Texas. I'm bringing that up because when I get excited about a topic, I tend to speak really fast and my Southern accent gets thick. So if I use a turn of phrase or something that you're not familiar with, let me know so I can slow down and explain, okay? All right, so here we go. So let's start at the very beginning. I want to talk about how my digital book club became an idea and how it turned into a Facebook page and eventually developed into a podcast, and I'm still running all of them. So I had just become a CSR, and I was practicing going through the steps of walking patrons through how to sign up for Hoopla Digital over the phone. So after I felt like I had gotten those steps down, I do what I always do when I'm on a website. I scroll to the bottom of the page and I started mashing on buttons and clicking on links. Did y'all ever do that? The next time you're on a website like YouTube or Google or Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, scroll to the bottom of the page and you will see all kind of things. Sometimes down there they have links to their blogs. Other times they have free courses, and they'll teach you how to use the app better so that you can look good because then you'll make them more money if you're using it that way. Other times they have affiliate links. So something similar was going on at the bottom of Hoopla's website. It had a little section that was like resources for libraries. And it had, a lot of digital advertising and print advertising. And they even had a little section for a book club. So of course I clicked on that. And then I saw all of these different resources. So not only did they have a book club, but they gave you a synopsis of the book. There was an interview with the author. There were discussion questions. They presented you with several forms of the book on Hoopla. So it was an audio book and an ebook. And then on top of all that, if you didn't like their book selection, they gave you about 6 or 7 other choices. I had never, ever thought of doing a digital book club at all. So my mind immediately started racing because I got super excited. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect way for me to combine 2 of my favorite loves, reading, and social media. And I knew that I could market this very well because I have experience in marketing to folks online because I have my own business. So I know about finding your ideal client and which platforms to use and why. And I knew I could do the same things with books. So that's exactly what I did. So I took that idea, I presented it to my supervisor, and I'm like, hey, I think we can really do this. This is all pre-pandemic as well. So at that time, we didn't exactly have an active social media presence at our branch or anything like that. The page was kind of dead. So I started a Facebook page myself. We'll get into the reason why I started the page a little bit more in the talk, but mainly so I could get analytics. And then I developed a podcast as well. Pardon me. So today we are going to cover a few topics. First of all, knowing your audience, choosing your platform, what type of content to post, create, or curate. We're going to talk about data collection and analytics, and then we're going to go over a few marketing tools to help you do your job a bit easier. So, know your audience. Knowing your audience is very, very important when you're trying to bring programs online. Your target audience is going to determine everything from which platform you use to what type of content you're creating or curating. Your audience also sets the tone for how you deliver your content. So are you going to take a more professional tone or a more casual one? That's really kind of going to be up to your audience. So according to the Ameris study in 2019, there were 3.5 billion daily active social media users. So that's roughly about 45% of the global population. And currently in 2021, there are 4.2 daily billion users of social media. So that's 53% of the global population has a social media account. So that's why it's so important to hone into your target audience, because that's a lot of people to sift through. So one of the ways that we can make this a bit easier is to break down social media usage by generation. And just as a side note, technically there aren't really any set definitions or guidelines of the specific generations. So I used, more generally agreed upon date ranges, and you'll see them shift back and forth depending on whose study that you're looking at. Just wanted to make note of that. Pardon me. So as you can see, the main people who are using social media when we're counting just among these three groups are millennials. Of course, the Gen X or the Gen Zs are definitely on social media. But as far as millennials, these are folks born between 1981 through 1996, and they're between 25 and 40. And then the second group is going to be my generation, Gen X. Again, age range 41 through 56. That's about 77% of the population. And then, of course, we come to the boomers, ages 51 through 75. And again, that's roughly 48.2% of the population. So once you account for social media usage by generation, it's then easier to go into those groups and aggregate them even more. You can now account for race, sex, gender, marital status, sexuality, religion, what kind of food they eat, if they like to go outside and play or not, if they exercise. You can really get down into the nitty-gritty. And this can be very helpful because now you can figure out not only what platform your target audience is on, but what groups they might be hanging out on online and what pages they follow and what discussions they might be a part of. You can now market particular books and library services and events towards specific demographics online. So we're very fortunate to have access to different studies and all the data to help us better serve our patrons. One of my favorite studies that was just released, I believe in February of this year, was put together by the Panorama Project, I promise I can say that word, with some backing from several different groups like Overdrive, ALA, Portland State University, and the Book Industry Publishing Group, so on and so forth. So the study is called the Immersive Media and Books 2020 Research Report. And again, you can find that in the file that's been posted. It's a really, really good study. It's super, super in depth, and it surveyed a lot of groups that kind of have been overlooked. So anyway, they found out a few things that I find quite fascinating. First of all, they really took a deep dive on these demographics, and they honed in on avid readers and how they engage with books and media. So notice I said engage with books and media, not how many books they read, but more along the lines of how many books they check out, whether they read them or not, or how many books they buy, whether they read them or not or gift them. I feel like somebody was spying in my house and they know I'm collecting all these books from the library like a dragon, and I'm not reading all of them. But anyway, so they also define an avid reader as someone who, like I said, engages with 4 or more books a month. And they found out that some emerging groups among avid readers are Black folks, Latinx, millennials, and men. They're also reading more audio and ebooks, basically any digital content, while they're multitasking. So this is really important because now you know if you're advertising online and you're trying to reach these specific demographics, then you perhaps need to take into account that the folks you're trying to reach need a prompt so they know to look at something or to pay attention because, like I said, they're multitasking. You also now might want to start looking into advertising more diverse books or own voices if you don't already do so. So if your library subscribes to streaming apps like Hoopla or The Cloud or even Canopy or something like that have audiobooks available online, then you're going to want to advertise those services more so that we can really engage these avid readers and engage with this data that we've just recently has been revealed. So before I read this study, I also noticed a lot of these trends. I just didn't really have any data to back it up. But I would track the different posts that I made on Facebook and the different graphics and images that I was making. I make images in Canva or take pictures and whatnot. So I noticed that when I posted more books that feature diverse people on the covers, those would get better engagement. So of course, I made more of those posts, and the same thing kept happening over and over again. I also noticed that my podcast was incredibly, very well received for a first podcast. People engaged with the episode and really gave me a lot of good feedback. So now I have data to help back up why that maybe was. In my podcast, I also made sure to emphasize a diverse array of books. So not just the genre, but also again in that own voices category as well. I also emphasized that these books were available as well as print, physical copies from any of our branches, as well as audio and ebooks. So I did that from the very beginning or the very inception of my book club because I've always wanted to make it as accessible as possible. So I try to make sure all of our selections are available in print and digital formats, and audiobooks. That way, people who might have trouble reading for whatever reason, vision or dyslexia or whatever, can still, I didn't mean to say or whatever, I'm dyslexic, so I know it can be a struggle for folks. But anyway, I didn't mean to come across too flippant. Anyway, I wanted them to be able to still enjoy the book and comment and tell us what they thought about it too. So I also try to include, again, as many own voices in what I post and podcast or select for our readings. Another reason why I also started emphasizing audiobooks on my Facebook page was because I had heard from various online communities, because I'm involved in book Twitter and BookTube that's on YouTube and Bookstagram and all of those. So I had heard from various online communities, and I'd also experienced it myself, that people were actually having a hard time reading as much print books as they were accustomed to. A lot of people were finding it hard to concentrate for various reasons because of the pandemic, because of the civil rights uprising, and because of civil unrest in general. And we've been going through a lot for the past few years. So this really distracted a lot of people. They couldn't read as many books. And a lot of folks were using audiobooks to get back into their reading groove. And when they turned to audiobooks, it really alleviated a lot of that stress. Now, the study doesn't go into this, but I imagine that's why you see that more Black folks and Latino folks are reading audiobooks and engaging digitally. I don't think that it's a coincidence, and it really would be interesting for them to kind of do a deeper dive to see why these particular populations prefer more mobile and digital books. Okay, so if you're still trying to discover who your audience is, there's some questions you might want to ask yourself. Who are they? Like, really try to break this question down into specifics: age, sex, gender, race, religion. That will help you to paint a bigger picture of who they actually are. Number two, how tech savvy are they? Are they the type of person to have a smartphone and not really know how to use it? Are they online, but are they using an iPad? Pardon me. But are they using like an iPad or maybe a tablet versus their phone? So can they figure out how to download apps, or are they going to need some help to do that? All of that will help you to figure out what platform they're most likely to be on. The less tech savvy people are more likely to be on an intuitive platform like Facebook or Twitter. So the more you know about the audience, the more you're going to be able to kind of predict where they might be hanging out online. So hold on one second. All right, so choosing your platform. So in the beginning, oh, sorry, I forgot this. Thank you, Christine. So what platforms do you think your target audience use? So we've got choices between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or something else. Ooh. So it looks like Facebook for most of y'all, some Instagram, there's an other. Ooh. That's interesting.
I'm just realizing, I think I'm just realizing that I forgot to make this a pick mini instead of a pick one. So my apologies. The survey data may not be accurate.
That's okay. We're gonna go with it. So it looks like most of y'all y'all's audience are on Facebook. That seems about right. Ooh, the other. Ooh, can somebody whoever has the other type it in the oh, we'll get to TikTok in a second, Alicia. That one is it's a fascinating platform. And I have something really specific to say about oh, that was you, other, it was TikTok. Ooh, perfect. Great. Yeah, we'll get to that one in a second because it's really fascinating and it's doing a lot of really cool things I don't think a lot of folks are noticing yet, but they will fairly soon. Okay. All right, I'm ready for the next slide. Thank you, ma'am. So it seems like there's a new platform born every day, and there are a lot to choose from. So deciding which one to have a presence on can be overwhelming. So I'm going to recommend that you think big, but start small. Pick one or two of the major platforms, but no more than 3, and master those. So again, most libraries are going to have at least a presence on Facebook. And as the most widely used social media platform amongst all generations, that really makes sense. So, but how you go about picking the next 2 or 3 platforms you decide to have a presence on depends on a few things. So first off, oh, sorry, y'all, I got distracted. I'm hearing some background noises. Where was I? So anyway, oh, picking your platform, sorry. So how you go about picking your net platforms and and where to establish your online presence depends on a couple of things. You need to consider what platforms your target audience favors. So when I decided to launch my digital book club, I knew that the statistics said that folks in Pueblo were largely on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. But I decided to focus on Facebook, even though I'm well versed in YouTube's algorithm and I know what it rewards and whatnot, mainly because it takes a lot of time to script and edit videos. So I knew that I had time constraints, and I could also accomplish the same goals that I wanted on Facebook, which also has videos. So anyway, it's a way for me to reach my audience through several forms of content, but I can also save time. Once I, felt like I had Facebook down, then I launch over to other platforms, which is exactly what I'm doing. I'm currently trying to establish a good presence on Instagram as well. So for instance, for my podcast, I had to host it on a different site. It's on Podbean, but I knew I needed to reach people on Facebook to get them to go over there and listen. So that's might be a strategy that you use, even if you're not very active on Facebook. On Facebook, then you might still post there because it has 2.7 billion users, and then you can direct them to another to your blog, to your website, or another platform in general. That's called a call to action. We'll get to that in just a second. Well, not just a second, but we'll get to it a little bit later. So anyway, I knew I needed to reach people on Facebook, and I know that through study and data that they favor images with story text. It's second only to video. So I created an eye-catching image, and I put a good story behind it, which was basically, hey, your girl created a podcast, so come and check it out. And that post reached 593 people. I don't pay for advertisements anyway. By the way, I don't pay for that at all because everything that I'm doing on my Facebook page is not technically linked with the library because like I said before, I started this before we had COVID. So I was basically building it from the ground up. But anyway, that post reached 593 people. It had about half that in engagement and comments and shares and likes. And basically all what that information was telling me was that I had reached the target audience. They were doing what I wanted them to do. So besides picking Facebook, when you are trying to decide where you're going to go with your next platform, you might want to look at a few different things. As you can see on here, I've aggregated between the number of monthly users, the largest age group, and then we've broken it down by gender. Now, a lot of the studies that the data I was looking at didn't have any data on people who were gender nonconforming or gender expansive. I think that Panorama Project, that they're the only one who even mentioned gender non-binary folks. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But anyway, Instagram has about 1 billion active users monthly, and their largest age group is 20 to 25, and it's skewed more toward women. Also, by the way, you can aggregate this data into how long people are on these platforms, but the numbers seemed a little bit low, and I think people weren't actually being honest about how long they spend on these platforms. So anywho, here's a basic breakdown of some of the main platforms and how they skew. So Twitter, it has 187 million users. It skews toward men at 68%. YouTube was a little odd because that group, the largest age group is 15 to 25, but I don't really think they were breaking down gender very well at all because it just basically gave you a blanket statement. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. Anyway, another thing that you need to think about when you are picking platforms is to apply your natural talents as well as your target audience. Then you can kind of figure out where you want to develop your next online presence. You also need to keep in mind that you have to learn the etiquette of these platforms and how to speak the language and what the algorithm will reward. And And you really want to sign up for the type of the account that will give you the best analytics. So on Instagram, you'd sign up for a business account versus a personal one because you can really get all that data. On Facebook, you want to establish maybe a Facebook page versus a group because, again, you have access to the data and then you can test your theories out and make sure that you're actually doing what will give you your best return on investment. So again, I am fluent in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I know how to use those platforms very well. I can host my programs on those, and I know what their algorithms reward. So putting all of that together really helps you to pick your best platform based off your audience and your talent. And to get to Alicia's question, which is a really good one, you notice I haven't put TikTok on here. And that's mainly because they're still gathering a lot of statistics for that website or that platform. And it does tend to skew a bit younger. It does tend to skew toward Generation Z. But I've seen all type of demographic groups on TikTok. One thing that I have noticed that they do across the board on that platform that I think is really amazing is almost all of them are putting subtitles in their videos. Most people are doing that, and that really opens up accessibility because now people who are deaf or hard of hearing or people who have English as a second language have more access to these videos as well. So anyway, I really like that about that platform. And as we get more information and data, we'll start to see how people are being really innovative on there too. Okay, so best practices when choosing a platform to expand your presence on is to ask yourself a few questions. What platform does your audience favor? Do you speak the platform's language? Do you know the etiquette? Do you understand what the algorithm rewards as far as content and content creation? And also, where do your talents lie? A combination of all the answers to these questions will really help you decide what platform to pick and where to expand next. Okay, so next we're going to talk about excuse me, y'all, pardon me. Content creation versus curation. So of course, created content would be things that you yourself create, like a live stream or a podcast or a blog post or anything that you're creating yourself. And curated content would be things that you gather, things that you think your audience might be interested in, and you go about the internet and gather. Okay, so I think it's time for the next poll. What type of content do you tend to post the most? Created content, curated content, or a mixture of both? And I'll give y'all a second to take your poll. Okay, so unless somebody's still wanting to poll, it looks like the vast majority of us are doing a mixture of both. All right, so, all right, I'm ready for the next slide. Thank you, ma'am, I appreciate it. Most people do end up using a combination of both. I would guess it's probably 80-20, maybe 70-30. And the reason why you do this and why this is best practices is because you don't want to come off as too salesy. You really want to try to offer value and other resources to your audience so that you end up giving more than what you're asking. Okay, so when you're creating content, you want to make content around your program and events, probably even some library resources. So that can be anything from a video, podcast, again, images that you create. I tend to favor Canva, but there are a lot of places where you can create your own images. You also want to do any kind of post, any kind of scripted post, and newsletters. Newsletters are super important because then you also have access to people's emails and they're inviting you in, and those folks tend to be a bit more engaged. Curated content. So with curated content, you always want to make sure that you are also offering value to your audience. Different things that you can collect are stories on library resources, new releases of movies, books, DVDs, and whatnot. You can even curate library past events. Another really great topic is current trends. One of the things my library branch did was we were able to ride the second wave of the Mandalorian, the second season of the Mandalorian. I really, really like it, and I got obsessed with Baby Yoda just like everybody else. So I got together with our program outreach coordinator, and we have a 3D printer here. So we printed up 3D Baby Yodas, and then we got together like these acrylic paints, and we put a little acrylic paint kit together. And some paintbrushes and whatnot. And then we curated several different grab and go bags of books and movies and whatnot, and graphic novels and comic books based around the Mandalorian or Star Wars. So we had like that Origami Yoda series in there, several graphic novels, and again, the books and whatnot. And it was really, really successful. I think we gave away about 15 of those little Baby Yoda 3D printout things, but each book bundle with the patron had to pass out had about 4 to 6 items in it. So that also helped our circulation stats as well. And it was really great. It was a wonderful, successful program because we were able to ride the wave of a train that was already happening on social media. Oops, I went fast. Let me go back. We're not ready for analytics yet. So anyway, you can do this with a lot of those page to screen books. So for instance, that can be done with the Outlander series, the Bridgerton series, Enola Holmes. That one came out a few months ago, and it's for younger children, but I enjoyed it as well. Right now, one that you could probably do this with would be like the Marvel's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That one's super popular right now, and you could tie in all kind of books and movies and comic books as well into that one. Another reason, let me take a breath. Oh, I know I'm talking fast, y'all. I'm sorry. Let me calm down. Oh, look at all y'all. We love Canva. Canva's the best. It makes me feel like a superstar. I'm not a graphic designer, but you can't tell me I'm not when I make things in Canva. I made all these slides in Canva too. I feel so awesome when I do that. Anyway, another reason why you want to do curated content is because it can add value. One of the things that we're trying to do right now at my branch is to make sure that our patrons are aware of where they can get their COVID-19 vaccination. And so I post stuff like that on Twitter. On my Facebook page, I let them know where the most recent one, where they can go and get their Dolly one. What is that, Moderna? Or the Pfizer one as well. Another hot item that people are looking for right now are tax forms. So any type of content that will help add value to your patrons, that's just something else to curate, because when you add value, you're giving. And again, we want to give more than we take. Okay, now we're ready for analytics and what to measure and why. So metrics are very, very important in social media. Sometimes they're just vanity metrics, like how many people like the post or how many people are following you or whatnot. But what does that really mean? Because, vanity metrics don't always tell you a lot of information. And they don't really always pan out. So you kind of actually have to dig a little bit deeper down to understand. So that's why it's very important that you define what your goals are on social media and as far as your library is concerned, and you have to look for ways to measure your success. It's really easy to get caught up in vanity metrics without investigating what your actual return on investment is. So a few of the metrics that you want to measure and follow to kind of gauge your progress are followers, reach, impression, and engagements. Now, they're called different things on different platforms, but for the most part, again, it's followers, and that's how many people are following your account. Reach, how many people see your content. Impressions, how many times your content is displayed to one person or on the timeline. And engagement, how many times do people interact with your content? All of those different metrics really will kind of give you a better picture so you can gauge how successful what you're doing is. The same metrics can be used to show your work, especially if you're reporting to your supervisor. So as you can see from the screen, this is a picture or a screenshot of my Facebook insights. And I have different metrics here. I can see which posts the people like the best. I can see what kind of content it was. I can see the different times and days that I get the best interaction for posting. So it's really, really important to track your insights and keep an eye on them. One of the images that I created for my podcast, again, that one was actually, it reached, I misquoted, and I told y'all earlier that it reached a lower number. It reached 835 people, had 85 engagement, 45 reactions, and a lot of comments and shares. So again, this was done organic. I don't pay for advertisements. But that told me, like I said earlier, it told me, you know, I had to have a great image. I got the data from knowing that posting through Tuesday through Thursday between 6 to 7 are the best times for me to post. And you only kind of get this kind of information from studying your metrics and insights and doing a lot of testing and experimentation. So this graph that you see right here took me maybe 4 to 6 months of regular posting at various times with various contents, not just, you know, images, but video and links and whatnot. So it took a little time to gather that data. Okay. So now you can see there are a lot of moving parts to keep track of when you're marketing to your audience. So I really kind of want to just talk about some of the tools that I use to be successful and keep track of everything. So if you remember back to when I was introducing myself, I gave y'all a lot of information and about the demographics that I tend to fall in. I told you about my reading habits, my marital status. I let you know that I like to be outside. So different things that I like to do. That's a lot to keep track of. So it's really important that when you're doing the marketing part of things that you're also organized so you can keep track of your audience too. So some of the main things that I use to keep track are a content calendar, a newsletter, print advertisements, because sometimes people think that you just need to advertise online. That's not true. You still need to do it in print, and link aggregators like Bitly and story clippers like Evernote. So this right here is a picture of my content calendar on Trello. And I normally just work it out with pen and paper at first, and then I put it on here so I can spread it out and see what I need to work on, what's been accomplished and whatnot. And it can be anything. It can be a video image, it can be print or voiceover or podcasting. Whatever type of content that you're creating, it needs to be centered around a main event. In my case, that would be my book club. So I put the book club on there first. It tends to be the last week of the month. Then I get content that might be related to that, and we plan out the beginning of the month. So I start to pull curated content. I decide how much created content I want to focus on. And then again, I use those link aggregators to keep things in play. This right here is my newsletter that I created in MailChimp. Again, I use the MailChimp app because I can keep in communication with my audience, but also because it gives me data and analytics. And as you probably already guessed right now, I really like data so that I can test what I'm doing, because I don't want to waste any time, and I have a finite amount of it. So again, this is an example of the newsletter. The template that you're looking right now, I designed myself. I use Canva to create the header. Canva really needs to pay me because boy, I stay talking about them. I really like them though, so I do it for free. I love them. But anyway, the text blocking, all of that. I designed this template so that I could have a branded image. This way, every time I send this to my patrons' email box, they know it's from me because it always looks like this. That's establishing branding, but it also saves me time as well, and I can give a consistent message too. They have a paid version, but I don't use it because this one currently meets my needs. And again, I'm also able to report to my supervisor the amount of link clicks that I get when I include them in the newsletter and how many people are opening and clicking on links. Okay, I need to wrap it up because y'all might have some questions and I want you to be able to ask them. So it wraps up Let's Get Digital, how to I promise I can say that word. How to successfully bring your programs online. So today we just kind of scratched the surface of a trend that's becoming more and more integrated into our lives every day. And I hope that I've wet your whistle and set you up with some success to establish your presence online. And I'll leave you with this. Remember, the next time you are on a website, scroll to the bottom and start mashing on some buttons. You'll never know what you'll find. Okay, let's open it up for questions.
So first of all, I want to thank Lovely for all of the information that she shared and different things. And I'd say in addition to questions, for those of you who are on here, if you guys have tips for marketing or outreach or how you guys are using analytics, go ahead and pop all of that stuff into chat, because I think that there's ways that we can kind of learn from one another, where are your audiences going and that kind of thing. But if you have any questions for Lovely, just type it in the chat and we will see about getting your questions answered.
And also in the resource file, I put a link to my podcast and also the Facebook page, just if you want reference. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions as well. If you think of them later too, you got my email right here. But also, really, y'all, if I don't care if you copy me, we all are involved in libraries. And if it's one thing somebody at a library is going to do is they're going to borrow something. So please feel free. That's kind of how I got started out too. Well, let me scroll down so I don't miss any questions.
So Teresa is asking, can you talk a little bit more about how you actually conduct the book clubs online?
Sure, that's a great question. So what I do is I send out the newsletter about the first week of the month, letting them know what book we're reading. Actually, they get it at the beginning of the year. They get the whole list. I give them a synopsis and whatnot. And then on my Facebook page, I usually have a pinned post with that current books, with the current book, and everyone knows that's spoilers. So we talk about the book. I'll come in every week and I'll ask a question and we'll do a progress check, like where are you at in the book? And then we kind of chit chat back and forth during the month before the actual live stream with what we think about the book, what our favorite parts are. And then on the live stream, we use StreamYard. So I can even invite my, I was about to say patrons. I can invite my folks to actually appear on screen with me if they want to. And I usually send that out in the newsletter as well. You can make it as interactive as you want or as little as you want as well. It kind of really depends on the topic. So did I answer your question, Teresa? I think so. Let's see. Laura. So if you have a large senior citizen population, how would you suggest engaging them more online? We've thought about offering some Tech 101 classes and trying to expose them to the basics. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. Two ideas. One is when we are able to meet more in person, I really like the idea of teens teach tech. So you get some teens to teach older folks how to use it. Generally getting the elders involved online. They actually, one of the studies in your resource guide talks about how there is an influx of elders onto Facebook. So you kind of want to include more intuitive platforms that make it easier for folks to adapt, like Facebook. I definitely also would do print marketing with our elders. A lot of times folks don't want to advertise online programs and print, but I will tell you, everyone that has heard of my book club heard it from my mouth or from a little flyer that at one of the branches. None of the people who sign up for my book club actually did it from Facebook. I always have to add them because they're like, oh, add me to your book club. And then they come and they participate. So I think that doing kind of like doing customer service like you would in a library, but transferring that onto line, if that is making sense. Let's see. Oh, does the book
asking? Oh, I was just going to read that. Yeah. Does the book club live stream become the podcast?
No, actually it doesn't, which is really smart to reuse your content. The reason why I don't do that, although that's really smart, I'm gonna have to really think about reusing that content. The reason why I don't do that is because the book club or the podcast is a bit more scripted, and I do focus on the book club, but then I also talk about other library events. Like I had to talk about when we were reopening and what we expected of patrons as far as how long they could stay in the library and whatnot. And I also tend to recommend other books. So like, for instance, I think the first episode of the podcast, the book is the book woman of, oh, it's not Hollering Creek. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's about the blue people. Anywho, I did that book, but then I recommended tons of other books as well. So long story short, or short story long, it is not, the live stream does not become the podcast, but that's super smart to reuse that content and turn it into that. Let's see. Laura says she likes the teen teaching tech idea. You're welcome, Alicia. And thank you, Laura. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to assume gender. Let's see here. Yeah, I really think that teen teaching tech idea is super important because it teaches them to learn how to give instructions, and they tend to be a lot more patient with elders. Oh, thank you, Becca. That's exactly it. Did you read that book, Becca? The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek. Y'all, that book is amazing. I think it's Kim Richardson. That woman is a master of her craft. Oh, I mean, you could tell she did all that research, and I really, really enjoyed that book. It was phenomenal. Anyway, to finish up Laura's question, sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, I really think that teens can be a bit more patient with elders, and that's what elders need. And then you're kind of getting the generations intermingling and whatnot. So I think that's a lot of fun too. Oh, Becca, I haven't read it yet, but my coworker's book club did last month. Oh, Becca, you need to get on Hoopla Digital. Get the audio version, Becca, because the narrator, who is escaping my mind right now, does the accent so well. It's really beautiful. It's a wonderful book. I hope you get a chance to read it. Do we have any more questions?
Excellent. Any other questions or things that you guys are trying at your libraries that that you're finding work in terms of social media? If you have great ideas, please share.
Yes, please do, because I forget to ask. I told y'all I get super excited. I probably sound, podcast books. Oh, thanks, Alicia. It's phenomenal. Those studies, y'all, that panorama, I keep wanting to say panoramic. That one is fascinating. I had no idea that they could aggregate the data so well. But I feel like I said, somebody's spying on me because they know I check out all these books and don't read half of them. Let's see.
Well, while we're waiting for other questions to come in, I'll move just to our wrap-up slides. Once again, if you do still have questions or other things that you'd like to share with the other attendees on, please pop that into chat. But we do want to thank you for attending and participating today. We would love for you guys to fill out a survey for what you thought about today's session, what you like, what you didn't. We can certainly always, talking about data, we can always get more. If you click on the link either in the slide or in chat, that will open it for you. And we have, as I said, we archived today's session, so if there are colleagues that you knew couldn't attend, or you joined us a little bit late, if you go to the CSL in Session website, which is on your screen, probably in about an hour or so, I will have the archive up. The resource list is already listed there. And we do have 2 webinars coming up. Our next CSL in Session is actually going to be on Wednesday, May 26th, when we have someone from the Arapahoe Library District is going to help us get to the root cause of different problems that libraries may be experiencing, whatever it might be. And we're going to talk about root cause analysis. And actually, we have a non-CSL in Session webinar that is scheduled for Wednesday, April 28th. 8th, when staff from the Pikes Peak Library District is actually going to talk about their 6-class prenatal care series. So that should be pretty fascinating. And lastly, if anybody needs a certificate for attending today, I am typing my email in the chat also. And bear with me, I can't type and talk at the same time. But you should be able to click on that and send me an email, and I can shoot you a certificate for today. Any other thoughts or questions or ideas about social media that anyone would like to share? Well, I really want to say thank you to Lovely for agreeing to do this session for us. And right there at the end, when she was talking about the book, I was just like, I think I know why people kind of log into her podcast. A lot of enthusiasm there. So I appreciate Lovely taking the time to share. And she's also popped her email address in the chat in case anybody has any additional questions. So I'll give it just another minute to see if there's other thoughts or concerns.
Thank y'all all so much for giving me some of y'all's time today. I really appreciate it. If you do think of anything else, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. I love talking about books and social media. And also, I'm sure y'all are doing some really, really cool things too. And I'd love to see what y'all are doing too. If y'all need me to join any of your newsletters or pop in on your live stream just so you have a little friendly face, let me do that too. I'd love to be of help and of service as well. It's been my pleasure. And thanks again for giving me a little piece of y'all's time this afternoon.